subscribe to my YouTube channel, share it with your friends, and comment your thoughts. The seat that changed everything. Her trembling hands gripped the armrest as the flight attendant's voice cut sharply through the cabin air. "Miss, you'll need to switch seats." Confused whispers spread like wildfire. The little girl's eyes flicked nervously to the woman in the aisle seat beside her, a face she'd never seen before, yet something in the flight crew's rigid posture hinted at a secret none dared speak aloud. Then came the silence. The crew's smiles froze, their eyes darting toward the boarding pass in the girl's hand. When the last name was spoken aloud, it was as if the entire plane held its breath. A name that meant danger, history, and a family legacy nobody on this flight expected. But why? Did a simple seat change ignite this frozen tension, and what did that name really mean? As the engines roared louder, the answers felt far away, buried beneath years of silence and betrayal. Maya's small fingers trembled as she clutched her, backpack tighter, her knuckles white. She had boarded the plane just minutes ago, hoping this flight from New York to Toronto would finally take her away from the suffocating silence of her past. She was only 10 years old, but the weight on her shoulders felt heavy, as if she carried more than her small frame could hold. The flight attendant's words came again, sharper this time. "Miss, please move. You can't stay here." Maya looked up at the woman standing before her, her eyes wide with confusion and fear. "I don't understand," she whispered, her voice small but steady. "Why?" The flight attendant's smile was forced, her eyes avoiding Maya's. "It's company policy." Beside Maya, the woman in the aisle seat, a stranger with cold eyes, smiled thinly. "Why don't you take my seat?" she suggested smoothly. Maya's heart pounded. The other passengers were watching now, whispers growing louder. A man in a suit looked around nervously, and a mother quickly shielded her toddler's ears from the rising tension. Maya's mind raced. What had she done wrong? Why was she being asked to leave her seat? Then from the back of the cabin, the lead flight attendant called out, "Her last name." The woman near Maya hesitated, then spoke it slowly. "Al-Karim." The cabin fell utterly silent. Maya didn't understand what was happening, but she sensed everything had changed. Outside the plane's windows, the late afternoon sun cast a golden glow on the runway. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with unease. Maya's mother had died 2 years ago. Since then, Maya had lived with her uncle, a man she barely knew and trusted even less. Her uncle's phone calls had stopped coming, and her future was uncertain. This flight was her escape, her chance to live with her aunt in Canada, far from secrets she wasn't allowed to ask about. Yet now, as the flight crew hesitated, as eyes turned icy and voices dropped to whispers, Maya realized she was carrying a secret she didn't understand, a secret tied to her very name. The lead flight attendant stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "We can't have anyone on board with that name." Maya's heart skipped. "A beat, why?" she asked, voice cracking. Another flight attendant whispered something to the lead, who nodded grimly. Maya's stomach churned as she tried to make sense of the sudden hostility. She looked around at the other passengers, some avoiding her gaze, others watching with curiosity or fear. The cold woman in the aisle seat finally spoke. "You should move, for your own good." Maya shook her head. "I'm not going anywhere." Suddenly, the plane's engines began to roar louder, and the captain's voice crackled over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready for departure. Please fasten your seatbelts." The tension in the cabin was thick enough to cut with a knife. Maya felt the weight of dozens of eyes on her. She looked down at her boarding pass again. Her full name was there. Maya Al-Karim. She did not understand the history behind it, but she could feel the fear it carried. The woman beside her leaned in, voice cold but low. "People with that name don't just board flights unchallenged." Maya's fingers clenched into fists. "I'm just a kid," she said softly. No one is just a kid, the woman whispered back, eyes flashing. The flight attendants whispered among themselves, casting furtive glances at Maya. One of them pulled a small black notebook from her pocket and flipped it open, scanning something quickly. Maya felt trapped, as if the seat she sat in was a cage. She thought about her mother's last words. Stay strong, no matter what. But what did she have to be strong for? The whispers grew louder as the plane began to taxi. A sudden voice from the cabin startled Maya. Who is she? A man, tall and stern, stepped forward from business class. The lead flight attendant answered quickly. She's Al-Karim. We have orders to keep her away. The man's eyes narrowed. Orders from who? No one answered. Maya's heart pounded in her chest like a drum. The cabin lights flickered as the plane started to accelerate. Suddenly, a young woman in the row behind gasped. My brother. He disappeared years ago, she said quietly. His last name was Al-Karim too. Heads turned. The woman's eyes were wide, filled with tears. What does this mean? Someone whispered. Maya didn't know. Her thoughts were interrupted when the woman in the aisle seat whispered fiercely, You don't know what you're mixed up in. That name carries enemies, powerful ones. Maya shook her head. I just want to go to my aunt. The woman's smile was bitter. It's not that simple. The plane roared into the sky. Maya looked out the window at the shrinking city below. She wanted to scream, to cry, to run away, but all she could do was hold onto her seat and wonder what shadow her last name cast and why it was about to change. Her life forever. Shadows of the past. Maya barely heard the hum of the engines as the plane climbed higher into the sky. The cabin was still thick with tension, an invisible wall pressing against her fragile hope. She kept her gaze fixed on the small window beside her, watching the clouds drift by like silent witnesses to a story she didn't understand. The flight attendant returned to Maya's side, her expression unreadable. I need to see your identification. Again. Maya swallowed hard and handed over her passport. The woman flipped through the pages, pausing on the photograph and then on the name Al-Karim. The name echoed in Maya's mind like a warning bell. What exactly does this mean? Maya whispered, her voice trembling. The attendant's eyes flickered with something. Regret. Fear. But she said nothing. Behind the scenes, in the cockpit, the pilot and co-pilot exchanged grim looks. The captain's fingers drummed nervously. On the console, this is more than a name, the co-pilot muttered. It's a message. What kind of message? The captain asked quietly. Trouble. Dangerous trouble. Back in the cabin, Maya felt eyes watching her. Curious, suspicious, fearful. From across the aisle, a woman in her 30s leaned forward. Her eyes were sharp, but they held sadness. My name's Lara, she said softly. I think I know. What's going on? Maya's heart quickened. What do you mean? She asked. Lara hesitated, glancing around nervously. I'm connected to some things your family tried to leave behind. Maya frowned. My family? Lara nodded slowly. The Al-Karim name carries weight, not just history, but danger. Maya's mind raced. She'd never known anything about her family except what her mother had told her. Fragments, whispers, and a warning to always stay quiet. Meanwhile, in the row behind, the young woman who had mentioned her missing brother shifted nervously. My brother disappeared when I was a child, she said to no one in particular. Al-Karim was his last name too. Maya's ears perked up. Do you know what happened to him? She asked. The woman shook her head. No one does, but there were rumors. Secrets that no one wanted uncovered. Maya felt a cold shiver crawl down her spine. The flight attendant returned once more, her voice low and urgent. We're going to need to speak privately. Maya followed her down the aisle to the small galley near the back of the plane. Inside the cramped space, the attendant closed the door behind them. I'm sorry, she began, but your presence here could endanger more than just this flight. Maya's eyes widened. In danger? How? The attendant glanced over her shoulder, then leaned in. There are people who want to keep the Al-Karim name buried. Some would go to great lengths to make sure no one connected to it gets through. Maya's breath caught. But why me? I'm just a kid, the attendant's gaze softened. Because you represent something powerful, something others fear. Back at her seat, Lara watched Maya leave. She looked troubled, as if wrestling with the decision she hadn't yet made. The stranger's story about the missing brother haunted the cabin. Passengers whispered in low tones, casting furtive glances toward Maya. Some seemed afraid, others curious. The atmosphere was electric with unspoken questions. Suddenly, the plane lurched. An announcement crackled through the cabin. Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing some turbulence. Please remain seated and fasten your seatbelts. Maya gripped her armrest tightly. The woman in the aisle seat leaned toward her once more. Listen carefully, she said, voice barely above a whisper. If you want to survive this flight, you'll have to make choices. Not everyone on this plane is who they seem. Maya blinked, confused and scared. What do you mean? The woman's eyes darkened. There are secrets in the air, and someone is watching you. Maya's mind spun. Who could be watching? Why? As the plane continued its uneasy flight, a new fear began to grow inside her, a fear that this journey would bring answers, but maybe also danger she wasn't ready to face. In the cockpit, the captain spoke quietly into a secure radio. We have a passenger on board, Al-Karim. What are our orders? A voice responded, cold and sharp. Keep her isolated. Do not allow contact with others. The risk is too great. The captain's jaw tightened. Yes, sir. Meanwhile, Maya returned to her seat, heart pounding. She glanced out the window again, wishing she could disappear into the clouds. Lara leaned closer. There's more to your story than you know, she said gently. Maya looked at her, desperate. For answers. Will I ever be safe? Lara shook her head sadly. Not until the truth comes out. As the flight continued, Maya felt the weight of invisible eyes on her. She didn't know who to trust. Her past was a locked door, and with every mile flown, the lock was being picked. Suddenly, a sharp cry broke the tension. A woman screamed, clutching her throat. Passengers gasped and turned. The woman collapsed onto the floor, writhing in pain. Maya froze, fear gripping her. Was this just an accident, or something far more sinister? The flight crew rushed to the scene. Lara grabbed Maya's hand. We need to stay alert, she said. This isn't over. Maya looked around. The plane felt like a cage. The passengers, strangers moments ago, now seemed like players in a dangerous game. A game with stakes higher than any of them could imagine. As the plane pierced through clouds and crossed borders, Maya knew one thing. Her journey had only just begun. Secrets above the clouds. The woman's screams still echoed in the cabin. Passengers stared in shock as the flight attendants rushed to help. Maya's heart hammered in her chest. Not from the sudden chaos, but from the gnawing fear that something more sinister was unfolding. Lara kept a tight grip on Maya's hand. Stay close, she whispered urgently. We don't know what just happened. Maya nodded, feeling suddenly fragile in a room full of strangers whose faces flickered with suspicion and fear. The flight attendant leading the response moved quickly, pulling a small medical kit from under a seat. The woman on the floor gasped and clutched her chest, struggling to breathe. Panic spread like wildfire, but the crew managed to calm the passengers, urging everyone to stay seated. Maya watched the scene unfold, her mind racing. This incident felt too sudden, too convenient. Was it really an accident? Lara leaned close again, her voice barely audible. This flight is not what it seems. Maya's eyes searched Lara's face. What do you mean? Lara glanced around, lowering her voice. There are people on this plane with their own agendas. Some want to protect you, others want you gone. Maya swallowed hard. Why me? Why am I the target? Lara's gaze softened, but her tone was serious. Because of who you are, because of the truth your family carries. Maya's throat tightened. She had so many questions, but the answers felt just out of reach. Meanwhile, the captain's voice crackled again over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're expecting to land shortly. Please remain in your seats with seatbelts fastened." But the tension in the cabin hadn't eased. Passengers whispered behind their hands, eyes darting nervously. In her seat, Maya tried to focus on her thoughts, but the woman beside her, the one who had first asked her to move, caught her eye. The woman smiled coldly. "You don't know the half of it, little girl." Maya's stomach twisted. "What do you want from me?" she asked, voice barely a whisper. The woman leaned in, to disappear, to be forgotten, to erase the past. At that moment, the plane jolted violently. Passengers gasped and braced themselves. The captain's voice was steady but urgent. "We're experiencing unexpected turbulence. Please stay calm." Maya's heart pounded as the plane shook, but then a sharp noise echoed through the cabin, a metallic clang near the back. Something had fallen. Lara quickly stood, moving toward the source of the noise. Maya followed, her curiosity stronger than her fear. Near the rear exit, a small leather-bound journal lay on the floor, its pages fluttering in the forced air. Lara picked it up carefully. Maya stared at the cover. It bore a single name, written in faded ink. Al-Karim. The cabin grew quieter as Lara opened the journal. Passengers craned their necks to see. Inside were pages filled with handwritten notes, dates, names, and a story. A story of betrayal, secrets, and danger. Lara's voice trembled slightly as she read aloud a passage. "They say our family vanished from history. But the truth is buried deeper. We carry the names of those who fought back, those who paid the price." Maya's breath caught. Could this journal hold the answers she'd been desperate to find? Suddenly a voice interrupted. "Give that to me." Man stepped forward from business class, his face hard. Lara held the journal protectively. "You don't want to do this," she said calmly. The man's eyes darkened. "This is bigger than you. Or her. That journal could destroy lives." Maya felt the weight of their conflict. She reached out instinctively. "It's mine," she said firmly. The cabin was silent. No one expected a child to speak with such courage. The man sneered. "You don't know what you're getting into." Maya met his gaze without flinching. "Maybe, but I want to know the truth." As the plane began its descent, the tension thickened. The journal was a dangerous key, one that could unlock secrets some wanted. To remain hidden forever. Maya's journey was no longer just about survival, it was about uncovering a legacy and fighting for a future. The flight attendants prepared the cabin for landing. Maya clutched the journal tightly, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. She didn't know what awaited her on the ground, but one thing was clear, the past was catching up, and someone on this flight was willing to do anything to stop her. The hidden truth unfolds. The wheels of the plane screeched as it touched down on the tarmac. A low murmur of relief rippled through the cabin, but Maya felt none of it. Her grip tightened around the worn leather journal. The secrets inside felt alive, whispering, warning, calling her forward. As the passengers stood, gathering their belongings, the man from business class, the one who demanded the journal, moved toward Maya with cold purpose. Lara stepped in front of her. "You're not taking this," Lara said, her voice steady but edged with steel. The man's eyes flashed with anger. "This isn't your fight." Maya's voice surprised them all. "It's my family. I deserve to know." The plane door opened, and the humid air of the Canadian summer hit the cabin. Outside, a small crowd of waiting passengers and crew bustled. Beneath the bright lights, security officers approached, scanning the passengers as they disembarked. Maya's heart pounded, not from fear of the officers, but from the realization that stepping off the plane might bring new dangers. Lara whispered. Urgently, you need protection. Maya looked up, eyes wide. From who? Lara glanced back at the man who still watched them closely. From people who don't want the truth out. The airport was a blur of motion, luggage carts rolling, announcements echoing, footsteps pounding. On the polished floor, Maya felt exposed, vulnerable, yet determined. She clutched the journal, feeling the weight of generations in her hands. Outside the terminal, a black SUV waited. Lara pulled Maya close. Get in. We need to talk. Maya hesitated, then nodded. Inside, Lara's phone buzzed non-stop. They're already looking for us, Lara said grimly. Maya's thoughts swirled. Who were they? What did they want to hide? Lara turned to her. That journal contains names. Names of people who stood against powerful enemies. Maya swallowed hard. And what happens if they find it? Then they'll do everything to silence you. The SUV sped through the city streets. Maya watched the passing buildings, trying to imagine what kind of enemies could make people so afraid. Why didn't my mother tell me all this? Maya asked quietly. Lara's eyes softened. She tried, but she was scared, like you are now. Maya looked out the window, tears blurring her vision. Hours later, they arrived at a small, discreet house hidden behind a row of trees. Inside, a man waited, a tall figure with kind eyes and a gentle smile. This is Samir, Lara said. He's someone you can trust. Maya studied Samir, feeling an unexpected warmth. We'll help you, he promised. That night, Maya opened the journal again. The faded ink told stories of betrayal, courage, and loss. She read about her grandfather, a man who fought for justice, but was framed and vanished. A family torn apart by lies and enemies, hiding in plain sight. Suddenly, a sharp knock startled them. Samir motioned for silence. Lara peeked through the window. Two dark figures lingered outside. Maya's heart froze. Who are they? She whispered. They're the ones who want the journal, and you gone, Lara said. Samir reached for his phone. We need to move. Now. In the chaos that followed, Maya felt fear like never before. They escaped through a back door, hearts pounding, the shadows chasing close behind. For the first time, Maya understood the depth of the danger she was in. As dawn broke, they found refuge in a safe house. Maya's hands trembled as she closed the journal. Lara looked at her, voice soft but firm. This is only the beginning. Maya nodded, eyes fierce. I'm ready. Betrayal in the shadows. The safe house was quiet, but Maya's mind was anything but. The journal lay open before her, but the words blurred as her thoughts raced. She had escaped danger for now, but the real battle was just beginning. Samir sat across from her, his eyes grave. We've traced the enemies. They're closer than... You think? Maya's heart skipped. Who are they? Lara joined the conversation, her voice low but steady. A group tied to government officials and business tycoons. People who've manipulated the system for decades. Maya swallowed hard. Why would they want to hurt my family? Samir shook his head. Because your grandfather exposed their secrets, and because your family carries proof that can bring them down. Maya closed her eyes, the weight of generations pressing down on her. She remembered her mother's warnings, the silence, the fear. But now she understood the price of that silence. Suddenly, Lara's phone buzzed violently. She glanced at the screen, her face paling. They're inside, she whispered. Before Maya could react, the door burst open. Masked men flooded the room. Chaos erupted. Samir pushed Maya toward a hidden door. Go, now! Maya hesitated, then slipped through. Behind the door was a narrow staircase leading to an underground tunnel. She ran, heart pounding, footsteps echoing. At the tunnel's end, Maya emerged into the cold night air. She ran blindly, the city's lights flickering above her. Behind her, shouts and footsteps chased relentlessly. Maya's lungs burned. She ducked into an alley and pressed herself against the wall. Her mind spun. Who could she trust? What was real? Suddenly a voice whispered from the shadows. Maya. She spun around. Lara stepped forward, breathless but alive. We escaped, Lara said. Maya felt a flicker of hope, but the relief was short-lived. Samir didn't make it, Lara said, tears in her eyes. Maya's world shattered. Lara pulled Maya close. We have to finish what he started. Find the proof your grandfather left behind. Maya nodded, steeling herself. She was no longer a frightened girl. She was a fighter. In the days that followed, Maya and Lara pieced together clues from the journal. Hidden codes, secret locations, names buried beneath layers of lies. Each discovery brought them closer to the truth and closer to danger. One night, Maya received an encrypted message. Meet me at the old library. Midnight, alone. Her heart raced. Was this a trap or a chance to uncover the final piece? The library was dark and silent as Maya slipped inside. She moved cautiously through the stacks. A shadow stepped forward. It was the man from the plane, the one who'd tried to take the journal. You're braver than I thought, he said, voice low. Maya's pulse quickened. Why are you after me? He smiled coldly. Because you have what I need. He reached into his coat and pulled out a flash drive. Maya's eyes narrowed. Is that proof? The man hesitated, then nodded. But it comes with a price. Before she could react, he lunged forward. A struggle ensued. Maya fought with everything she had. The flash drive flew from his hand and skidded across the floor. Suddenly, a loud crash startled them. Lara appeared, grabbing Maya's arm. Time to go! They ran into the night, the flash drive clutched tightly. As they vanished into the shadows, Maya knew one thing for sure. The final battle was near. Truth and transformation. The rain hammered against the cracked windows of the abandoned warehouse where Maya and Lara had taken refuge. The flash drive burned in Maya's pocket like a promise, proof of everything her family had sacrificed to protect. Lara paced the room, tension etched into every line of her face. We don't have much time. Once they find out we have this, they'll come after us harder than ever. Maya nodded, determination shining through the exhaustion in her eyes. I'm ready. Together, they connected the flash drive to Lara's laptop. Files and videos spilled across the screen, documents exposing corruption, betrayals by powerful men, and the true story of Maya's grandfather. A video flickered to life. A stern-faced man spoke. This is my grandfather. He tried to expose the truth but paid the ultimate price. His family was broken, hunted, but this ends now. Maya's breath caught. The weight of generations was no longer just a burden. It was a legacy. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed outside. We have to move, Lara whispered urgently. They grabbed the laptop and fled into the night. As dawn broke, Maya contacted the press anonymously, sending them the files. The story exploded across media worldwide, corruption, cover-ups, and a family's fight for justice. The powerful men tried to silence the truth, but the world was listening. Protests erupted, investigations began, and justice edged closer. Months passed. Maya stood before a crowd, no longer a frightened child, but a symbol of courage. Her voice steady, she spoke. Sometimes losing everything is the only way to find who you really are. Lara smiled beside her. You've changed more lives than you know. Maya looked out at the sea of faces, hope shining bright. The scars remained, but so did the strength. She had faced betrayal, grief, and danger, and come out whole. Her journey from broken to empowered was complete, and with it, a new chapter for her family began. The end.